the legal challenges essentially, once again, are one is the same set of challenges that any victim of rape will face going through the legal process. So, for instance, there was a judgment from the Supreme Court in 2013. It is Salman Akram Raja versus Government of Punjab, where the Supreme Court gave certain recommendations on how rape trials should proceed. So, for example, one of the recommendations was that rape trials should be held in camera and after court hours. That is that, those proceedings should not be open to public and they should be held after court hours so that there's not a lot of public in a court, in the courtrooms, and women feel safe coming to courtrooms. The second recommendation was that, there should be a protective screen between the victim and the perpetrator to allow the victim to feel safe in that courtroom, or, to, be able to record their statement or their evidence. And finally, to allow recording of evidence through video conferencing, especially particularly if we are talking about minor children. So these are recommendations that would definitely help, facilitate prosecution of rape crimes or sexual assault or sexual violence crimes. Now, in terms of when we're talking about marital rape, a lot of times why victims of marital rape don't come forward, as I've said before, is that they don't necessarily feel that they have anywhere else to go, right? If they're tied to their husband financially, if they don't have independent financial resources or a place to live, if there are kids involved, a lot of times women won't pursue just because they don't have the requisite support. Now, if the state can step in these cases and provide women through requisite legal support, legal and non-legal support, through providing the state does provide public prosecutors, but they also require gender sensitization, of course. But providing shelters, through providing access to psychological services, to medical services, to making sure that if there are kids involved, they're well taken care of. If there is a lot of emotional trauma involved in these cases. So the state can definitely step in to, ensure that if they're victims, they're adequately well taken care of. Now, a good model that we have that, perhaps can be looked at is the Punjab Protection of Women Against Violence Act 2016. Now, this is an act that is civil in nature. I'll just at the outset say that it's an act that's civil in nature. It's not criminal in nature. But it essentially kind of lays down a model of how women can be provided both legal and non-legal support. So one of the things they do is to establish one center, a center against a sort of multi-purpose center which works as a shelter home. You have a dedicated court within those premises, a dedicated police station. There are medical staff available. There's staff available to help, counselors available to help through psychological trauma. So if we can establish a similar or use the same model to provide support to victims of rape or marital rape, I think that's kind of a good step for the state to take to ensure that this. And Pakistan is one of those countries where rape is very, very underreported, and because as a legal system, as a society, we don't necessarily make it easy for women to come forward. So if we put in requisite support structures in place, it will make it easier for more women to come forward, women who are victims of marital rape or any other forms of sexual violence.